Today on Here for the Right Reasons, Clayton and Susie break down their breakup on Off the Vine. Aaron Clancy talks about his connection with Genevieve.
Obviously, I did find love with James the previous season, but didn't really work out the way I had hoped, obviously. You try to find a romantic connection, so figured why not give it one more shot.
Serena Pitt gives her predictions for Paradise Love.
I don't think there'll be another Joe and Serena. I mean, just like we were different than every other couple, these couples are going to form their own love stories and their own identity.
Plus, Garrett's engaged, Nate calls Brandon, and we break down all the drama from this week's Bachelor in Paradise. We've got that plus so much more on today's Here for the Right Reasons. Hey guys, Christina Garibaldi here with Us Weekly deputy editor Sarah Heron. And Sarah, we are not one but two episodes of Bachelor in Paradise this week, and lots going on.
2 episodes in one day? Question mark? Longest 24 hours for Genevieve and us? I'm not sure.
Seriously, we'll get into it, but I can't get over the amount of tears for just 48 hours in that place.
Absolute madness. Before we jump into it, I know we like to see what our audience is saying. And Joanne was really excited to see past contestants like Lace and Victoria. So excited watching my favorite show.
Love it.
I would agree that Lace and Victoria, I think, are highlights for me.
Yeah, me too. I love seeing the oldies, the OGs come down. I think it's great. I love it because there's a lot of people in that cast that I've never seen before. So
absolutely
I enjoy it. Misery says the Paradise Police possibly came for Brendan because he strung Natasha along, wasting her time to get roses until Piper showed up. That was pretty clear. Paradise Police came for Chris and Alana because they met on a group trip to San Diego before going to Mexico. Also, it looked as if Chris strung Jasenia along until Alana showed up. That's the difference. Not just about the free vacation. None of that happened with Serena and Brandon. Also, no one saw them hanging out together, but can't rule out those two possibly DMing. Do your homework, lady.
Oh, shit. Listen, I'm just saying, I get the difference. I do, I guess, but I think it's the same thing, whether you hung out or not, or you met or not.
Right.
You're going in with a clear motive. I'm not thinking Brandon, he did anything wrong. And I ship those two. Clearly they have stands already.
Right.
But I kind of think it's similar. If you're going to meet, why not? We saw it with Teddy, not to jump ahead, but clearly she went on the show because she felt all this pressure to date Andrew because everyone wanted her to. And if they just met in real life, she would have saved herself what clearly wasn't a pleasant experience for her. So I agree it's a little different. It is different to curate a full relationship, Brandon and Piper. Chris and Alana have denied that. I don't know, a full relationship and then go on the show. But it's similar to have such a specific plan. And I believe that there was some DMs between Brandon and Serena. This doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense to me either, but we appreciate your comments, good and bad. All right.
I'm trying to do my homework. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Let's get into our news of the week. And of course, everybody was talking about this interview with Clayton and Susie. They sat down with Caitlin Bristow on Off the Vine and revealed everything about their breakup. They cited that their different communication styles, backlash from the Bachelor Nation, and Clayton struggling to heal amid his self-identity struggle as reasons for their split. Susie felt like she was also in limbo as Clayton kind of debated these career changes. I mean, there was so much. I know that you listened to the whole thing and kind of broke everything down. So what really stood out to you the most?
It really kept coming back around to Clayton not feeling like he's healed. And he kind of kept saying, I kept telling Susie a couple more months and I'll be the best version of myself so I can be that for you. And just him not really being ready to be in a relationship kind of because of everything that happened on the show. And he did mention, he'd get to a good place and then that fake TikTok cheating scandal happened. And then he got to a good place in the Bachelorette premiere, which the Clayton sex fire happened. And in those moments, I think they really tried to put on a brave face and tell everyone that they were stronger than this and getting over it. But from what we've learned and what you could tell by the way he was talking and how emotional they were and his words were, those affected him way more than he let on. And he still reads every DM. He's still very much affected by what social media says about him. And I don't know what that's like. And I understand just telling them not to read it doesn't work, but it just sounds like Clayton really is very still damaged and does need time to heal. And I think Susie's tried to be that person for him, and he credited her for helping them get him get through a lot of really dark times. But then it's I don't know how many light days they get to have because Clayton's struggling so much. And their relationship is tied so much to the show. Mm-hmm. So I kind of think they need a fresh break. But I also feel they really do care and love each other. She was crying over listening to Clayton talk. So I wouldn't be surprised if these two circled back. I don't think they're going to have a clean break.
I don't think so either. I did appreciate the fact that they sat down together and it's so interesting and not letting anybody kind of spin the narrative. You know, they wanted to tell their story and this is how it is. And it's clearly, like you said, there's a lot of love between them still. Like she was crying and, you know, he was very emotional too. And it seems like they really, really tried to make this work, but he is just in a really tough place from The Bachelor. And that goes back to The Bachelor, maybe trying to do more for these contestants in the mental health department, because clearly the show has a lot of negative effect on a lot of people. Yes, it does good things for people when they come out of this, you know, with a great edit and looking, you know, pristine to the public. But, you know, when there's definitely a dark side to this show too. And, you know, and he's been at the brunt of a lot of it. So you feel really bad for them. You really do.
I agree. And he was interesting. He said, like, I had no business being The Bachelor. Mm-hmm. And he's like, if I did it now, I know so much more about myself. And it's like, you can't necessarily say that because like he learned all this because of the show. And he kind of said, he's like, I went through 5 or maybe even 10 years of growth in 6 months, a year. So it's like, it's easier said than done. Because if you go back, like he wouldn't know, you can't know, like hindsight's 2020. But it is interesting that he said, I had no business being The Bachelor. And they picked him for whatever reason. Like that is the part that I think, especially the show, it's like, why did you pick Clayton? Like, not that they could predict this, but it felt like everyone maybe should have realized that this guy was not ready for this. And did they pick him because he was going to make bad mistakes or be easily to kind of like manipulate? Or is that now us just changing the narrative because that's what happened? I don't know. But it's interesting that he was picked for no real reason. And then he's now saying, why would I pick? Like, I'm so messed up.
Yeah, like I have no, and I mean, that was our question too. We had no idea why it was Clayton. And I think we still don't know why it was Clayton. I mean, yes, his season was entertaining for us to watch, but not at the expense of somebody's mental health. It really, you know, it's a shame. And it seems like they tried to make this relationship work. I mean, he moved to Virginia, which is, you know, usually the recipe for a healthy relationship after The Bachelor, kind of remove yourself from the, you know, LA and the glitz and the glamour and kind of focus on the relationship. And which is what they did. They just couldn't make it work, at least at this time. So we'll have to wait and see.
It'll be interesting. Someone who didn't make it work with their Bachelorette, but is now engaged. Bachelorette season 14 winner Garrett is engaged to his yoga instructor girlfriend, Alex. He wrote on Instagram, our engagement was exactly how I imagined it. I love you so much, Alexandra. I can't wait to spend forever with you, little Al. In case you forgot, he was on Becca Kufrin's season of The Bachelorette. He proposed to her during the 2018 season finale. They moved in together in early 2020, hit some road bumps in their relationship during the Black Lives Matter movement and kind of what Garrett was saying. Following George Floyd's death and everything that happened on Bachelor Happy Hour. And I remember they officially announced their breakup in September 2020. Becca did. Garrett never really commented on it. And that like a day later, he kind of went public with this girl, Alex. So we know they broke up more beginning of the summer 2020. And then it was interesting though, because everyone was like, oh, he moved on so quickly. But then Becca was the one who ended up getting engaged to Thomas. He got engaged after 2 years. So interesting to see how that played out. But like they're both engaged now. They're both engaged,
both moving on. And it seems like they're both happy. So good for them. But it is. The timeline was very suspicious after he and Becca broke up and he was like with this girl like 2 months later, but whatever makes them happy, I guess. All right. Moving on to Bachelor in Paradise alums, Piper and Brendan. They are thriving since taking their romance off camera, but in no rush to get engaged. I cannot believe they're still together, but she told us, I feel like we've always done things as we want. We didn't get engaged on the show, which was probably a blessing because we don't have to rush to marriage or anything like that. It's kind of, let's take things at our own speed. They're currently living together in Massachusetts, but the arrangement isn't permanent. He said that he's really, really happy with the way that things are progressing and said, I wouldn't be dating her if she wasn't a person I could envision marrying at some point in my life sooner than later, but we're very pleased with where we're at right now and just enjoying each other, enjoying traveling and the journey that is dating, and we'll see what happens. Are you surprised they're still together too?
I mean, I think, obviously. Yeah. Kind of funny. It's one of those things that like they either break up, I feel like right away, or they end up together much longer than we would expect. But the fact that it also goes to show that sometimes, you know, when people are kind of ostracized or criticized, it pushes them together or it tears them apart. With Clayton and Susie, kind of tore them apart. Brendan and Piper, stronger together.
Right.
I don't know.
Works for them. Whatever works. I can't imagine them coming back down to the beach this season, though.
No, I don't think they're going to do like the Ashley and Jared storyline anytime soon, which we'll get to because of what the hell was the point of that. But before we do, Brandon Jones, who was obviously on the season of Paradise, he was on the Talking It Out podcast, and he talked about how Nate reached out to him after his split from Michelle Young. Nate said, he felt bad for me because he saw how I was with Michelle and worried that maybe he ruined that for me. But I said, no, this is how life was supposed to work out. He was very apologetic. He wanted his relationship with Michelle to work so bad. He wanted it to work, but it just didn't. He added that him and Michelle are best friends, and he is not in communication with Michelle. He said, I don't speak to Michelle after the breakup. I'm not in her life whatsoever. She has her own life and I have mine. I just wouldn't want to be disrespectful.
Interesting that Nate reached out to him, to the runner-up, saying, I'm sorry that I kind of ruined your chances.
I feel like that's always like the narrative Bachelor Nation does too. Like if they break up anytime within like a 6-month thing, they're like, you know who wouldn't have broken her heart? You know who wouldn't have? And then picture of whoever the runner-up is, which is such a like cliche and probably not even true. Like the lead knows. I don't think the lead has ever, besides obviously the guys who switched their minds, but I feel like the Bachelorettes, I don't think have ever like regretted and wanted to go back. Although I think so. Dorfman hooked up with Nick Viall after her.
Yes, I'm pretty sure they probably did.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is an actual genius concept and she should have gotten back together with Brandon.
Well, I mean, he was like madly in love with her, like during that season. Like there was no denying that he was ready to get engaged. But from early on, we knew that she had that strong connection with Nate. It was pretty obvious.
Yeah, and now he's on the beach. So we have to see. I mean, it feels like him and Serena are engaged already. So.
Seriously, they're about to have a baby. All right, well, let's get into our Bachelor Nation talk. And I know that you caught up with Serena Pitt, who of course got engaged to grocery store Joe on Paradise last season. I know you had to ask who are the next Paradise couple she predicts to get engaged. Who's the next Joe and Serena? So take a look.
Do you have an early pick for who the next Joe and Serena will be?
Oh my gosh. I don't think there'll be another Joe and Serena. I mean, just like we were different than every other couple, these couples are going to form their own love stories and their own identity. I also don't think what went down with us could maybe ever go down with anyone on this season.
We hope that that's true. Maybe let's avoid that for other people.
We had a unique storyline, but I mean, some early standouts I think we saw last night are Brendan and Serene, who their first combo really did kind of remind me of Joe and my first combo, where they were just so giggly, so nervous, but so smitten with each other right off the bat. And that just warmed my heart to see. And then Teddy and Andrew were the first date. I know on my season, Abigail and Noah were the first date of Paradise, and they're still together today doing great. So those are kind of the early standouts. But I would say Brendan and Serene's conversation felt the most similar to mine and Joe's first conversation.
I would agree with that.
I mean, pretty much agrees with us as well, Brendan and Serene.
I also like that she casually was like, well, hopefully the same thing doesn't happen to them, without like being like, that stuff with Kendall sucked. But like, you know, taking the high road as all three of them did during that whole situation. But I, you know, had to throw in there, you know, hopefully there is no other Joe and Serena, because that was a kind of a rocky road.
Totally.
Well, talking about this season as well, I spoke with Aaron Clancy, who made his debut. I had to ask him about his history with Genevieve and what was to come. So here's what he told us.
Let's go back to that Women Tell All, where this alleged bomb was dropped. Your name was dropped, that you and Genevieve knew each other. What were you thinking when Shanae made those claims, and what had actually happened between you and Genevieve at that point?
Yeah. So when I saw that, I was just shocked. I didn't think that anything my name would be mentioned. It was completely, I thought I was completely irrelevant. Essentially what really happened was I just met Genevieve I believe I had met her twice, but just in passing randomly at a bar, you know, maybe said a couple words to each other, hug, but completely platonic. Didn't really even know her.
And then we saw you guys sitting next to each other at Clayton's finale. So did anything change going into Paradise in those months?
No, not at all. The seating arrangement isn't random. They did that on purpose. It wasn't our choice. Nothing changed.
So going into deciding to come back to the beach, what was your mindset? Why did you decide to give Mexico another shot?
Yeah. Well, I obviously, I did find love with James the previous season, but didn't really work out the way I had hoped, obviously. You try to find a romantic connection. So figured why not give it one more shot.
What is something that you learned from the first time around that you took into the second stint?
My biggest thing was not to be so impulsive, reactionary. I think that's the first time I was a little bit more emotionally driven than this next season. So yeah, just really kind of maturing and understanding that how the process works a little bit better.
Are you saying we're not going to see any like epic meltdowns then?
I'm saying you're gonna have to tune in for that, but there are real emotions involved for sure.
In the trailer, at least, we do see that you and Genevieve will explore a connection. So what can you tease to me about that and why you guys were drawn to each other on the show, at least?
Well, everything was purely platonic. Obviously, there was a lot of kind of speculation there from Shanae at the Women's Tell-All. So it made me really kind of look and see, is there potentially something, or why not give it a shot? We're both on the beach, that's what it's for. So I definitely gave it figured why not.
Did you have your eye on anybody else going into that you knew was going to be there or that you were hoping was going to be there?
I really go into it with a pretty open mind. I didn't go into it with, really targeting anyone or having anyone in mind, but just kept an open mind.
We do see in the teaser that you are seemingly upset about seeing someone kiss in front of you. Are we going to get another Tammy Aaron Thomas situation?
You're going to have to tune in. You're going to have to tune in for that.
All right. Well, let's get into the mess of this season, the mess of these episodes. I mean, we'll kick it off with Aaron and Genevieve. What do you make of this, budding romance?
I mean, it's just so ridiculous to me that they didn't even pretend to make this not set up. Yeah. Aaron and Genevieve, I understand. And they did kind of tell the story and give the backstory. I feel like it was Sierra who was kind of giving Bachelor history to be this is why this matters, the Shanae, the whatever. But we didn't even get to see James and Shanae talk. We didn't even show the clip of him pulling her or him pulling other people. So it's so set up that it kind of was hard to then fall for anything that happened. Mm-hmm. Aaron and Genevieve, I mean, he told us, he's I went in with an open mind, but obviously she was on my mind because they had kind of set it up. But to me, it just feels so producer pushed. Yeah. And I think Genevieve is going to regret kind of being a hypocrite and not sticking out with Justin after she got so mad about the Victoria Fuller of it all.
She got so mad about this. And we have to remember that at this point, they've only been in paradise for 48 hours.
Right.
Why is everybody so upset that they're trying to explore other relationships? You just got here.
And granted, it was her birthday. I'm sure drinks were flowing. It seems because think about how much content we got in 48 hours. They have been up, drinking, making out, talking about this, all consuming. And they clearly kept Justin and Victoria F hostage somewhere because they were gone for so long. So I understand her spiral to that degree. It did come off ridiculous. She's on Twitter being you guys don't understand. So I feel kind of bad for her, but obviously it looked insane.
Right.
I assume she just got caught up in it, but to then turn around, fine for her to go on the date with Aaron, but she literally really made Justin feel bad and then did the same thing. Yeah, she's just such a hypocrite. But yeah, she's been going off on Twitter being I wanted to leave every 3 hours. We got 3 hours of sleep and, 90% humidity. It's basically torture for her. But I don't know. She's a bit much. She is. But then it's interesting because I was okay, sure, maybe they have a connection here, but I don't know if I really saw, during the date with Victoria and Justin, I was I kind of am feeling this. They're cute. But then all of a sudden she's been into Johnny and they hooked up real quick and he immediately ditched what's her name, Hunter, and stuck it out. And then Justin came back to Genevieve and if I was doing the conversation, I'd be you're not worth it. Sorry. But he wanted to pursue her. So it kind of feels the date with Victoria and Justin was really a non-factor, but I kind of fell for it. So interesting that he did feel strongly enough for Genevieve to try to make amends with her and that Victoria had this side crush on Johnny that we didn't even know about.
Yeah. We had this problem with the show last season too. It's there's not enough setup. We need to know what is going on behind the scenes a little bit. I don't need an hour and a half of Genevieve. I need to know some more backstories. I just feel things are just kind of coming out of left field and we're wait, huh? I don't know how we got here. Yeah. It's very, very strange. The whole Victoria Johnny thing was really, really weird. And then this Romeo, Romeo and Jill. He's crying to everybody on the beach. Were you shocked that she actually accepted his rose? I mean, not very surprised because she wants to stay, but
no, I mean, she knows. And as she said, she's like, nothing in paradise is guaranteed.
Right.
Like that was her way of saying, like, tell me you're taking this rose to stay without telling me you're taking this rose to stay, which is fine. Like, and she was upfront about it. Like, it's not like she led him on to get the rose. Mm-hmm. And he kind of said, like, this is a second chance for you or for us. And she was like, no, dude. No. Romeo's pretty sad. Like, as like, he's just has not made one right decision in these 3 episodes.
No, Romeo's probably going home next episode.
Whoever Brittany is, because again, we saw her for 5 seconds when she was like shutting him down, and then she accepted Casey's rose. Like, who knew Brittany and Casey had talked to each other?
I know. We need more. Even though we had 4 hours of the show, I still need to know more about these stories. I don't.
Probably because we watched 30 minutes of Wells acting as Salley. What did you think of the Salley of it all? Because, I've been obsessed with Salley since her 5 minutes on Clayton season. I have been following this woman. I've been trying to figure out if she got back together with the fiance. I called for her to be here. I picked up her name in the trailer being like, Sally's vibrator, is Salley coming? And when I was watching it, I was like, this is insane. Wells telling the story would have been enough, and he could have cut out half of it and just told us parts of the story, because I don't even know what parts of it I believe. I believe some parts of it are real, some are exaggerated, and it made it even more of a joke to do it with this reenactment and made it feel mean versus like him just telling the story and trying to explain what happened. And it was just like a little too campy. I know Paradise is the silly one. We make jokes, but it felt not organic at all and felt over the top to me. But then in the preview, when they showed that Sally's actually coming next week, I was like, oh, okay. Like, we did need all that.
Yes, we did. We did need it. We didn't need the reenactments. That was very cringy. Hopefully Sarah Hyland gave him some acting tips and things like that, because this was just too much.
It was one of those things, like, as an inside joke, I'm sure it was so funny to film it, right, but like we weren't there. Like, I think you had to be there.
You had to be there. And for the millions of people that weren't, it was uncomfortable.
It was just weird, and it went on way too long.
Yeah.
Also, like, the luggage, like, I get it in some sense, like, it was a good way to introduce this, but like, clearly Salley didn't pack this waffle maker that she allegedly got at the women's hall, which was cut out. She didn't pack, like, the vibrator thing kind of was like making fun of her. Like, they do this thing where, like, they have good juice. Like, there's all this drama around Salley. Salley in itself there's so much to talk about.
Right.
Why make fun of her?
Right.
Like, why not just like present the facts? Like, I'd rather someone come down and be like, I heard a rumor Salley was coming, versus let's open the suitcase, Lace of all people, opening the suitcase and like making it a joke. Like, that's when it becomes mean. Like, we can just talk about the facts. Like, did Justin and Salley hook up a stagecoach? Is Salley coming? Like, that's plenty of juice in itself. Like, why go too far and then make it where we feel bad about enjoying it?
Right. And I feel like some people from Bachelor Nation like spoke out on Twitter too, saying like, why are we doing these mean things? And it goes back to the whole like mental health conversation. Like, you don't need to be mean to make a good TV show. The drama speaks for itself. People
they do it to themselves. Let them embarrass themselves.
Yeah, let them embarrass. Yeah, we don't need to add fuel to the fire. Logan not knowing who Ashley and Jared were definitely made me laugh. But this whole Ashley and Jared narrative, like, I don't care that they need a little time away from their baby. I love Ashley and Jared. Yes, they deserve it, but it just doesn't really fit into this season of Paradise.
No, it doesn't. And like, listen, they didn't even leave the beach together.
No.
And she kept saying, like, we'll give you the advice you need. It's like, why? You like, I know you're a success story in some sense, but like, it's not something hopefully they can relate to.
Yeah, no. And we don't, and in the previews for next week, why do we need to see them going into the boom boom room? Like, I don't get it.
Literally don't need it at all. Like, host a date, that's always fun.
Yes.
But like hanging out on the daybed and like gossiping was just weird.
And then Teddy just abruptly leaving for no reason. I guess she just really didn't want to be there.
Yeah, it sounds like she really didn't want to be there. And the producers were like, if you want to ever meet Andrew S., which she clearly wanted to, you have to come to the beach. And it kind of was interesting to me that they even showed the producer conversation with her, because I felt like that made it like, oh, like, she gave us a little more insight into Teddy really didn't want to be here.
No.
And like kind of admitting that. And I feel like that's interesting that they kind of showed us that. It's kind of blowing up their own spot.
Right. No, totally. Yeah. And she just like, she was like, peace out. I don't even need to say goodbye to anybody. Packing my bag.
She hasn't posted about the show once on social. She's like, I think just trying to pretend those 3 days of her life didn't happen. And I felt like her and Andrew, like, I think it's one of those things, there was just way too much pressure going into it. Like, the world was shipping them. Mm-hmm. He was trying to go with it. And she was like, I don't feel anything. No. And that's not her fault. And she clearly was filing, thinking like, I'm going to look bad. This is going to look one way. And she was like, is it? And the fact that she didn't even think it was worth going on the date with Rodney, I thought was like, oh, like, she really doesn't want to to be here.
No, definitely. And I appreciate that. I respect that. If you want to get yourself out of the situation, just get up and go rather than embarrass yourself even more. So good for her. What do you think so far overall these past few episodes? Are you feeling Bachelor in Paradise this season so far?
I think that the juice is there. I just don't know why they're highlighting what they're highlighting. But I'm still holding out hope that when they do the kind of Love Island Casa Amor splitting them up thing, it's going to be really juicy. And I think a lot of the people who went home, I'm sorry to say, like, were the ones I didn't really care about. So, like, and I think more people that are coming down the beach, I think will be interesting. So I'm not giving up yet, but I don't think these were the two best episodes of Bachelor in Paradise by any means.
Definitely not. All right. Well, let's get into our social media spotlight. Who caught your attention on social media this week?
Okay, so Justin and Kira are having quite the back and forth about the stagecoach of it all and these allegations that Kira made that Salley and Justin were all over each other and hooked up at Stagecoach. And Justin tweeted, LMFAO, Kira was at Stagecoach. This whole story is news to me. Anything for screen time, though, I guess. Sigh. And she responded, you okay, bro? We had several short conversations while there. Get some glasses and a better attitude. Wow. And he said, I'm sorry, I truly didn't think we spoke all weekend. Just odd to speak out and embellish someone's whereabouts and actions so authoritatively that you don't know. She said, we definitely spoke. And I was in the 5-person girl group with Salley all weekend. So I know what I saw. Don't really understand why you're coming for me, but it's all good. I posted a picture of them like on opposite ends of like this huge group photo by a pool. Like, whoa, what's happening?
What is happening? It's like, why is Stagecoach always so dramatic?
Like, don't go to Stagecoach if you have any plans to go to Paradise.
Stay home. Didn't Blac teach you anything?
Yeah, Blac Hortzman, did he not teach you anything? Also, like, Salley, like, speak, girl. I need to hear from you for endless reasons. Like, did you hook up with Justin? And like, why would Kira make that up? Like, I feel like Justin's was thinking she wouldn't like fire back and was hoping people just saw this tweet to be like, this is news to me. Because even his friends, like Michael and Andrew A were like, oh, Justin's going to freak out when he finds out Salley's coming. So clearly something happened.
Something happened. Salley is going to be the star of this season of Paradise.
And she's been the star for me since, again, her 5 minutes. Like, I am so happy to see this woman. Like, I need the real Salley, though. I don't need Wells in a wig.
No, I don't need it. And we're going to get it next week. I can't wait. My social spotlight went to Kayla Quinn. She exclusively announced with Us Weekly that she is expecting her first baby with her husband, Nick. She posted, of course, these like gorgeous out of the magazine photos announcing her little one is on the way. So due in March of 2023. So a big congrats to Kayla and Nick.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, that is it for this week's episode of Here for the Right Reasons. Sarah, who was on the podcast this week?
I don't know.
Oh, no. All right. Let me do this again. I will wrap it up again.
The podcast is going to be the death of me.
All right. Well, that is it for this week's episode of Here for the Right Reasons. We'd love to see the comments that you guys leave. So keep them coming, keep commenting, keep subscribing. And Sarah and I will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
For more news, content, and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below and visit usmagazine.com.